The single dad gripped the steering wheel, eyes scanning the icy road. He just wanted to get home to his little girl. But then he saw her. She was shivering by the roadside. No coat, barefoot, her eyes hollow, haunted. For a second he thought she was a ghost. "Ma'am, you all right?" he asked, rolling down the window. She looked at him with disbelief, like she hadn't heard kindness in months. "Please, just a ride." He didn't hesitate. Something in her cracked voice, something broken, he recognized it. Minutes into the ride, she passed out in the passenger seat. When he looked into her purse for ID, he froze. A business card. Not just any name, the name. Evelyn Crestwood. The missing billionaire who vanished after the scandal. But why was she here alone, barefoot, silent? And why did she seem so afraid of being found? What was she running from? And why did helping her put everything he loved in danger? The cold night. Air bit into Liam's skin as he drove along the nearly empty highway, headlights cutting through the thick fog. His breath fogged the cracked windshield as he stole quick glances at the clock. 11:37 p.m. Every second closer to home meant another second closer to his daughter's warm embrace. But tonight felt different. The weight of silence pressed on him, heavier than usual. Then, just ahead, something caught his eye. A figure, a woman, standing alone on the icy shoulder, her frame trembling violently. She was barefoot, her thin dress fluttering in the biting wind. The snow fell softly, but steadily, a silent witness to her despair. Liam's heart clenched. He slowed the car, flicked on his hazard lights, and pulled over. The door creaked open, and a gust of cold air rushed inside. "Hey, are you okay?" Liam's voice was rough but gentle, the kind of voice that had soothed a frightened toddler just hours before. She looked up at him, wide, glassy eyes full of pain and exhaustion. No words came at first, just a fragile nod. "Come on, get in," Liam said, his own breath shaky. She hesitated, then slid inside like a ghost. Her skin was ice cold to the touch. For a moment, Liam thought she might faint. He glanced at her purse, worn, yet surprisingly elegant, and caught the edge of a business card inside. The name froze him. Evelyn Crestwood. The billionaire heiress who vanished without a trace 6 months ago. Why was she here, shivering in the cold, far from any place she could be known? And what secrets was she running from that night? Secrets that would drag Liam into a darkness far deeper than the winter's night. Liam's hands tightened around the steering wheel as he drove on, the weight of Evelyn's name settling deep inside him. But who was he? A man most people overlooked, a janitor working nights at a local community center, scraping by to raise his daughter Mia. Alone. The city lights blurred past, but Liam's mind drifted back to quieter moments. The soft breathing of Mia in her crib, the worn-out teddy bear she clutched, and the tired smile he forced every morning. Being a single dad was his whole world, a silent battle of exhaustion and fierce love. He lived in a small apartment, peeling paint on the walls, a place too cramped for dreams, but big enough for hope. His life was a quiet routine of late-night shifts, early morning bottle feedings, and whispered lullabies. Liam rarely spoke about himself. His past was a locked room, keys swallowed by grief. He'd lost his wife Anna 2 years ago, a sudden illness that left a gaping hole in his life and doubled the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He didn't have the luxury of time to mourn properly. Mia needed him every day, every minute. Every tired smile was a promise. No matter how broken the world, he would keep her safe. And yet, tonight, with this mysterious woman beside him, Liam felt that his small, silent world was about to shatter. The quiet life he'd built was about to collide with a storm far beyond his control. Liam's knuckles whitened as he gripped the wheel tighter, his thoughts drifting back to a darker time, a childhood carved from hardship and neglect. Before Mia, before Anna, there was only the cold silence of an empty house and a father who never stayed long enough to care. He remembered the nights spent hiding in his room, clutching a torn blanket, trying to drown out the shouting. The hunger, pangs, the bruises he pretended didn't hurt, and the endless sense that he was invisible to the world around him. School was no refuge either. The other kids whispered and stared, labeling him the lost kid. Yet, somewhere deep inside, Liam nurtured a stubborn spark, a fierce will not to become a victim. That fire kept him moving forward, through every dead-end job and every lonely night. Now, as a father, those scars weren't just memories. They were warnings etched into his skin, reminders of what he never wanted Mia to feel. And tonight, watching Evelyn sit silently beside him, haunted and broken, Liam sensed she carried her own scars. Some he could see, others buried beneath. Layers of fear and silence. But no matter what storm awaited, Liam knew one truth. The past may shape you, but it doesn't have to define you. The memory hit Liam like a punch to the chest, the day Anna died. It was a cruel twist of fate that stole his wife in the blink of an eye, leaving him drowning in a sea of grief and responsibilities he wasn't prepared for. He remembered the hospital's sterile corridors, the antiseptic smell mixing with his pounding heart. Doctors spoke in hushed tones, words he barely understood, until the crushing truth settled. Anna wasn't coming home. The life they'd dreamed of, a family, laughter filling the rooms, long walks with Mia, shattered in an instant. He hadn't just lost a wife. He'd lost his anchor. The days that followed were a fog of sleepless nights and endless crying. Mia, only months old, depended on him for everything. Yet Liam felt like a broken man trying to hold together a life that was slipping through his fingers. The house grew colder, the silence heavier. He wrestled with guilt. Could he have done more? Could he have saved her? But no answer came. Instead, he made a promise to raise Mia, to be her strength, no matter the cost. But the cost was high. Every smile he forced, every tired step forward, was a battle against the shadow of loss that threatened to consume him. And as the cold wind hit Evelyn's face in the passenger seat, Liam wondered if she too was haunted by loss. Caught in a storm he was only beginning to understand. The tiny apartment smelled of baby powder and old coffee, the only sense that marked Liam's new normal. Mia's soft cries echoed through the thin walls as Liam balanced a bottle in one hand and a mop in the other. Janitor by night, single dad by day, his life was a relentless cycle of exhaustion and devotion. Every morning began before dawn, with hurried diaper changes and whispered lullabies. He'd stare into Mia's innocent eyes, drawing strength from her tiny fists and toothless smiles. But as soon as she drifted to sleep, the reality would hit again. The bills unpaid, the job that barely paid enough, the loneliness that crept in like a cold draft. His coworkers barely noticed him, just the quiet guy who swept floors and cleaned bathrooms. No one guessed he was fighting a war bigger than any mess on the floor. One evening, as Mia slept fitfully in her crib, Liam sat at the kitchen table, staring at a paycheck that wouldn't cover the rent. The world outside was harsh, unforgiving. But inside, the tiny apartment held his entire universe. He whispered promises to Mia. "Daddy will keep you safe. I'll never let go." And when exhaustion threatened to drown him, he would look at that little face and find the courage to keep going. But tonight, with Evelyn beside him, Liam sensed his fragile balance was about to tip, that helping this lost woman might either save them both or break everything he had left. The hum of the heater filled the car, but the silence between Liam and Evelyn was thick and fragile. She sat curled beneath a thin blanket he found in his trunk, eyes darting nervously to the passing streetlights, as if afraid they might see too much. Liam glanced at her, noticing the faint bruises just peeking out from under her sleeve. A shiver ran through her, though the heater was on full blast. "Are you sure you're okay?" he asked softly. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. I just need to get away." Something in her broke Liam's heart. He didn't know her story yet, but the weight of her fear was clear. He'd seen that look before, the one people wear when the world feels like it's closing in. For a moment, Liam thought of his own struggles, the nights when no one came to help, when kindness was as rare as warmth in winter. He shifted the car onto a less busy street, careful not to ask too many questions, but wanting to do something, anything. A part of him ached to reach out, to offer more than just a ride. Because beneath the shivering woman's fragile exterior, he sensed a strength he couldn't yet understand, a fight that hadn't died. But for now, all he could do was drive, silently promising himself he wouldn't abandon her like so many had abandoned him before, and somewhere deep down, he hoped she'd do the same for him. Liam's heart pounded as he stood outside the cold gray building of the city shelter, clutching Evelyn's trembling hand. They'd arrived seeking help, a place to stay, a moment's peace, but what they found was a wall of indifference. The clerk barely looked up from her screen, eyes glazed with routine. "Sorry, no rooms available." Liam's voice wavered. "Please, she needs somewhere safe. She's been through a lot." The woman sighed, tapping a few keys. "There's a waiting list. You can try the police, maybe." Evelyn's face tightened, eyes darkening with fear. Liam noticed how she flinched at the mention of police, a silent alarm in her every movement. Frustration swelled inside him. The system designed to protect the vulnerable felt more like a fortress, built to keep them outside. The wind howled through cracked windows, mirroring the cold he felt inside. Liam wanted to shout, to shake the walls down, but he had no power. Just a desperate promise to keep Evelyn safe. He looked at her, her breath shallow, eyes searching for a lifeline in a world that had turned its back, and he realized that sometimes the greatest battle wasn't with enemies you could see, but with the silence and apathy that swallowed people whole. It started with a photo, a single frame captured by a passing driver's phone, then blown up across social media with cruel captions. The image showed Liam, his rough hands gently steadying Evelyn as she slumped in the passenger seat of his beat-up car. Suddenly, the man who had been invisible to the world became a target. Headlines screamed accusations. Janitor abducts missing billionaire, single dad or criminal. The news spread like wildfire. Calls from police officers demanding his presence. Whispers in the community center where he worked. The stares that followed him were colder than the winter night he'd found. "Evelyn," Liam's heart sank as Mia's innocent questions cut through the chaos. "Daddy, why are people mad at you?" He had no answers, only the bitter taste of injustice. He tried to explain to the officers, to the neighbors, but no one wanted to listen to the janitor's side of the story. The ride that was meant to be a simple act of kindness had become a nightmare. His name dragged through mud, his daughter's future threatened by rumors he couldn't control. And yet, despite the fear, Liam held on to one thing: the truth. And the woman in his car, whose secrets were darker than anyone imagined. One cold night, when the world outside felt too heavy to bear, Evelyn finally spoke. Her voice was barely audible, yet every word cut through the silence like a knife. "I wasn't always like this," she whispered, staring out the window at the rain sliding down the glass. "I had everything: money, power, a family that looked perfect from the outside." Liam listened, holding on to her words as she revealed the truth she'd buried deep inside. Her father's empire was a gilded cage built on lies. Her brother's greed had poisoned everything, turning allies into enemies, and stealing her inheritance, piece by piece. The scandal that followed had destroyed her reputation overnight. The headlines called her a liar, a fraud. The Borg forced her out, and the man she trusted most became her worst enemy. She had nowhere to go, no one to turn to, and the cold streets became her only refuge. Liam's heart ached with every word. He saw not a billionaire, but a woman stripped bare by betrayal, alone in a world that once adored her. For the first time, their broken worlds Collided, two lost souls fighting to survive, against forces bigger than themselves. And as Evelyn's secret spilled into the night, Liam realized that saving her would mean risking everything he held dear. The glare of the television was harsh. In the small apartment, casting shadows on Liam's worn face. His heart pounded as he watched the news anchor's smug smile as they recounted the story, twisting facts, painting him as a criminal rather than a savior. Tonight's top story: janitor accused of abducting billionaire heiress. The anchor sneered. Neighbors describe him as a suspicious figure. Comments flooded social media, tearing Liam apart. Friends distanced themselves. Co-workers whispered behind his back. Even Mia's daycare teacher asked pointed questions. That made Liam's throat tighten. He sat frozen, unable to reach through the screen and explain the truth. The man who'd given a frightened woman shelter was now a pariah. His phone rang constantly. Calls from police, reporters, even unknown numbers filled with threats. Liam's world crumbled piece by piece. The place he called home felt colder, emptier. Evelyn's silence only deepened his isolation. She vanished when he needed her most, leaving him to face the storm alone. But beneath the shame, a spark ignited, a quiet fury that told him he wouldn't let lies define his life. This was no longer just about survival. It was about fighting back for his daughter, for Evelyn, for himself. With the city's eyes burning down on them, Liam and Evelyn disappeared into the shadows, far from the flashing cameras and whispered rumors. The old cabin nestled deep in the woods became their sanctuary, a fragile refuge wrapped in silence and frost. Inside, the air smelled of pine and wood smoke. Liam watched as Evelyn slowly shed her guarded walls, her eyes growing softer with each passing day. Away from the suffocating glare of the public, she laughed quietly at his clumsy attempts to start a fire. And for the first time, Liam saw a flicker of the woman she once was. Mia, wide-eyed and curious, took tentative steps on the wooden floor, her laughter a balm for Liam's weary soul. Yet beneath the peace, tension simmered. Liam knew the outside world hadn't forgotten them. Every crack of a branch, every distant siren reminded him that their sanctuary was only temporary. But here, among the trees and whispered secrets, a fragile hope blossomed. Hope that maybe, together, they could rewrite their stories, not as victims, but as survivors. As snow began to fall gently outside, Liam dared to believe that this hiding place was the first step towards something better, for all of them. Late one night, the flicker of a laptop screen cut through the dim cabin light. Evelyn sat hunched over, eyes scanning a digital file she had guarded like a secret treasure. Liam watched quietly as she played the recording. A hidden voice message from her trusted assistant. A calm but urgent confession revealing everything. The lies, the forged documents, the betrayal orchestrated by her own brother to steal her empire. Her hands trembled as the evidence poured out. Raw and undeniable. This will clear everything, she whispered, hope threading through her voice for the first time in months. Liam leaned closer, feeling the weight of that fragile truth. It was more than just a tape. It was a lifeline, proof that could shatter the false narrative that had dragged them both through hell. But with the tape came a new danger. If her brother discovered they had it, he would stop at nothing to silence them. Liam met her gaze, steady and fierce. We'll fight, together. For the first time they weren't just hiding. They were ready to reclaim what was stolen. Not just for Evelyn, but for the family they both dreamed of protecting. The battle was far from over. But now the truth was on their side. Mia's small cough echoed through the silent cabin, sharp and sudden, a cruel reminder of how fragile their fragile sanctuary truly was. Liam's heart raced as he watched his daughter's tiny chest rise and fall, each breath a desperate fight against the sickness creeping in. He held her close, feeling the heat of a fever beneath his trembling hands. The nearest hospital was miles away, and with the law breathing down his neck, Every step outside their hiding place felt like a risk too great to take. Evelyn paced anxiously, guilt etched deep in her eyes. "We have to get her help," she insisted, voice cracking. "No matter what." Liam nodded, torn between protecting his family and the terrifying possibility of exposure. For the first time, the weight of his choices pressed down like a crushing wave. He looked at Nia's innocent face, so much depended on his next move. With a deep breath, he made the call to a trusted nurse friend, pleading for help without revealing too much. As paramedics arrived quietly, Liam felt the cold grip of fear tighten, but he also felt something stronger. Hope. Sacrifices would have to be made. Battles fought in shadows. But Liam knew one thing for sure. Saving Nia was worth every risk, even if it meant losing everything else. The hospital room buzzed with a quiet urgency. Liam sat beside his son's bed, gently brushing a hand over Jack's damp forehead. The boy's breathing was shallow, wheezing slightly under the oxygen tube. The monitor beeped a slow rhythm. Outside, snow dusted the windows, painting the world in cold silence. Liam had sold the last of his tools to cover this emergency visit. The bill sat in his pocket like a loaded pistol. The door creaked. A nurse entered, but she wasn't alone. 2 uniformed officers flanked her. "Mr. Carson?" one said, voice flat. Liam stood, confused. "Yeah, you're under arrest. Failure to appear in court. Outstanding warrants for unpaid child support, going back before your custody was formalized." "What? That was dismissed. My record was cleared." His voice cracked as the nurse instinctively stepped between him and Jack. "You can explain it downtown," the officer said, already cuffing him. "Wait. My son's sick. He needs me. Just give me an hour." But they weren't listening. Jack stirred in the bed, blinking weakly. "Dad." "Buddy, I'll be right back, I promise," Liam called over his shoulder, eyes brimming. Then he saw her. Evelyn. She was standing down the hall, just beyond the nurse's station. A coat too thin for the snow, hair a mess, eyes wide with guilt. And just as quickly she turned and vanished into the stairwell. Gone again. Panic surged in Liam's chest, not just from being dragged away from his son, but from that look on her face. She knew something. She knew everything. And yet, she left. Fade to black. The courtroom was quiet. Too quiet. Liam sat in a faded orange jumpsuit, wrists shackled, eyes hollow. The public defender beside him whispered something, but it didn't land. He was staring at the judge, waiting for the hammer to fall. "Your Honor," the prosecutor said, rifling through papers, "this man has repeatedly ignored court summons. He's a risk with a history of instability. I recommend **." The door burst open. Gasps swept through the room. A woman in a deep navy coat walked down the center aisle like a storm front, calm, cold, and undeniable. Evelyn. But not the Evelyn Liam had picked up on that frozen road. This woman had straightened. Posture, eyes like fire, and a presence that shut the room up entirely. "Your Honor," she said clearly, voice ringing across the wood-paneled walls. "Permission to speak." The judge blinked. "And you are?" "Evelyn Dane. I'm here to testify. And to expose what's really happening here." Murmurs rippled from the press bench. Liam's heart pounded. "She came back. I have documents." She continued, handing folders to the bailiff. Affidavits. Financial records. Proof that Mr. Carson was targeted. Not because he failed his child, but because someone wanted to silence him before he uncovered the truth. The prosecutor flinched. Liam stared, stunned. The judge leaned forward. "Ms. Dane," the judge said, eyes narrowing. "Are you prepared to swear under oath?" Evelyn met his gaze. "I already did. I just forgot who I was, but not anymore." Fade to black on Liam's stunned, disbelieving face. The courtroom was chaos now. Reporters had filled every inch of the gallery. Evelyn stood tall on the witness stand, her hand still trembling from the oath. But her voice never wavered. "My brother forged my signature on the asset transfer documents," she said. "He bribed board members, had my legal team disbanded. And when I didn't disappear fast enough, he framed the man who helped me survive." She glanced at Liam, who stared back, unable to blink. The judge asked, "And these bank statements confirm it?" "Yes," she replied, along with the digital audit trail and the security footage showing him entering the firm's server room after hours. "I brought copies for the court." A low whistle escaped someone in the gallery. Liam's lawyer rose next. "Your Honor, we move for all charges against Mr. Carson to be dropped immediately." No objection came. The judge leaned forward, tapped his gavel once. "Motion granted. Mr. Carson, you're free to go." Liam stood slowly. His hand shook as the guard removed his cuffs. The courtroom exploded into camera flashes, but none of it registered. He turned to Evelyn. She looked tired, but in the way a warrior looks after battle, bloodied, but not broken. He walked toward her. "I thought you were gone," he said. "I was," she whispered, "but you gave me a way back." And for a second, the world still broken pieces, slowly falling into place. They called it the heiress and the handyman. News trucks parked outside the courthouse for days. Evelyn's face was everywhere on TV, in magazines, her fall and return dissected in every conceivable way. But Liam? He wanted none of it. He returned to Jack's bedside that night, clutching a small plastic robot his son had once begged for. The boy was stable now, asleep, IV humming. Evelyn knocked gently on the doorframe. "You're famous now," she said, leaning in. "I'm exhausted." She smiled. "I figured." Liam looked out the window, watching snow fall again. "They say I'm a hero, but I'm just a dad who is trying not to drown." She sat beside him. "You pulled me out of the river. I didn't even know I was in it." Silence. Then she added softly, "You don't want the spotlight, but the world needs to see men like you." He shook his head. "I don't want to be seen. I want to be home, where no one's trying to take my kid or bury my life." "In court documents," she nodded. "Then let's disappear together. Just live." Liam smiled for the first time in days, and Jack stirred, turning toward his father's voice in his sleep. The years passed quietly. No press, no drama, just seasons. The lake glimmered gold under a late summer sun. Ducks drifted lazily across the water. Children's laughter echoed near the shoreline. Liam sat on the old wooden bench, hair streaked with silver now, but eyes just as sharp. Beside him, Evelyn held a paper cup of coffee. She wore jeans and no makeup. A quiet contentment rested on her face. Jack, now taller than them both, was skipping stones with a younger girl, Evelyn's niece, who now lived with her. They had built a new kind of family, not perfect, but real. "I never imagined this," Evelyn said. "What? A billionaire with grass stains on her jeans?" Liam teased. She laughed. "No, peace. I never thought I'd earn it." Liam looked at her. "You didn't earn it, Evelyn. You fought for it." A breeze stirred, leaves danced. The sun dipped lower. She turned to him. "So, are we friends?" He smiled. "Maybe." They sat in silence again, watching the kids by the water. Then, without a word, Evelyn gently rested her head on his shoulder, and Liam didn't move. The screen fades to black as laughter echoes. Maybe we all have a choice between walking past someone else's storm or stepping into it. Liam never asked for praise, just peace. He gave a ride to a stranger not because he knew her worth, but because he saw her pain. And somehow, in helping her heal, he found healing too. The world called it fate, the media called it a miracle, but maybe it was just what happens when two broken souls recognize the light still flickering in each other. He wasn't a hero. He was just a man who didn't drive away. And sometimes, that's all it takes.